You want to know what real shock feels like? Try coming back to your lake house after 3 weeks away, rounding the last bend in your driveway, and seeing a brand new luxury garage sitting right where your view of the water used to be. Now imagine realizing a third of that structure is built smack dab on your own property, after you sacrificed decades for that tiny slice of peace and quiet. That's the kind of fury that makes your hands shake. And let me tell you, it doesn't stop with just a ruined view or a few feet of stolen land. It gets uglier. Lawyers, money, courtroom showdowns, the whole mess. All because some folks think rules don't apply to them. I'm Carter Williams, and if you told me a year ago that a neighbor would try to steal my land with a smile, I would have laughed and poured you another drink. My story starts simple, almost hopeful. See, I'd worked 2 decades for this place, cutting out every vacation, every extra treat, just so I could wake up to sunrises on my own piece of the lake. It wasn't much. A modest 2-bedroom cabin with a battered dock and 80 feet of shoreline. To me, though, it was the finish line of a long, grinding race. After buying the property, first thing I did, like anyone with a lick of sense, was hire a surveyor. The lines were marked crystal clear. Stakes right down to the inch. For a year, life was peaceful. My neighbors on one side, Earl and Dot, retired, sweet as summer peaches, would drop by with coffee, or just wave from their porch. No drama. But then the old vacation home on my other side sold, and that's where the story takes a turn. The new owners, Mark, and, well, she called herself Karen, but folks around here started calling her the Duchess after about 2 days. You know the type: designer sunglasses, high heels in mud, barking orders like the world owed her a red carpet. They rolled in with matching black SUVs, complained about the rustic vibe, then started tearing the place apart before the last moving truck even left. I thought, what the heck? Maybe they're stressed. So I did what a good neighbor does. Walked over with a bottle of whiskey and a handshake. Mark barely grunted. Karen barely looked up from her phone. "We're very busy right now," she told me, waving a contractor over. I chalked it up to nerves, but turns out some people just come wired that way. Next few months, the headache started. Karen complained about my fishing boat, called the fire department when I had a bonfire with friends, even lectured me about my old wooden dock, ruining the view. But I kept to myself, always checked the county rules, never gave them a reason to escalate. What I didn't know was how far some folks are willing to go. That spring, work sent me across the country for almost a month. Before leaving, I locked up, left my keys with Earl and Dot, and told myself everything would be fine. When I came back, man, even now my jaw clenches thinking about it, my driveway opened up to a brand new stone front garage. Giant doors, fresh landscaping, and it all looked suspiciously like an extension of the Duchess's house next door. At first I thought maybe I was jet-lagged, or just losing it, but the old survey stakes were gone. And after about 5 minutes, pacing it off, I realized the garage was a good 15 feet over my property line. I didn't even have to check the survey map, but I did anyway. Pulled it out, tied a string from marker to marker, and there it was. A third of their shiny new garage was planted firmly on land I paid for, land I dreamed about for half my adult life. My first instinct was to stomp over there and raise hell, but I called Earl and Dot instead. Turns out they'd tried to warn them. "They just brushed us off, Carter," Dot told me, voice tight. "Said their architect handled it. Said our old survey markers were wrong." I felt the anger rise, but I wanted to do this right. I snapped photos from every angle, markers, garage, all of it. Then checked with the county. Sure enough, the permits they pulled had the garage drawn completely on their side. Total fiction. Next morning, I found Karen outside, hollering at a landscaper about hydrangeas she wanted. Again, on my side of the line. I tried to keep calm. "We need to talk about this garage," I said. She spun around, sunglasses pushed up on her head. Annoyance all over her face. "What about it?" "It's built partly on my property," I told her. 15 feet. I've got a certified survey. Mark wandered over, arms crossed. "Your survey's wrong. We had our own done. Mind showing it to me?" They shared a look. Then Karen snapped, "We don't have to show you anything. This is our land." I told them, "Actually, no. You can't build on my property. You need to move the garage or compensate me for the land." Mark barked a laugh. "Not a chance. That garage cost more than your whole cabin. If you don't like it, call a lawyer. My cousin sits on the zoning board." Karen chimed in, "We know people. Good luck." They turned their backs and walked away, like I was a fly at their picnic. I stood there in the morning sun, humiliated, heart pounding. I'd given them a chance. I'd played nice, and they spat in my face. So I did what any stubborn, tired, fed-up guy would do, called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, but a woman named Valerie McKinnon. Quiet, sharp as a razor, recommended by my contractor buddy. I gave her the survey, the photos, the permits, every text I'd sent Karen, everything. She barely cracked a smile. "We'll sue for removal, damages, and rental value," she said. "Let's see how long their arrogance holds up in court." She sent a cease and desist. Karen and Mark didn't just ignore it. They ramped up. Mark parked his Porsche in the garage every day, making a show of it. Karen planted more shrubs, built a path right through my side yard. They were daring me to quit. But see, I don't quit. I put up a trail cam, documented every trespass, logged every landscaping truck. Valerie filed a suit for trespass, ejectment, damages. The look on Karen's face when she got served, worth every sleepless night. Mark stormed over with the legal papers. "You're going to lose, Carter. Our lawyer will bury you in fees." I looked him dead in the eye. "You ready to tear down your $60,000 garage?" "'Cause I am." He blustered, threatened to ruin my name around the lake, called me petty. For a minute, I wavered. Was this too much? Was I just making enemies? But then I remembered. They built on my land, lied about it, tried to scare me off. Court dragged out almost a year. They stalled, filed motions, claimed they had a survey. They never showed it. Argued that moving the garage was undue hardship. Even tried the old adverse possession trick, claiming rights after a few months. Judge wasn't buying any of it. After one long hearing, she looked at their lawyer and asked, "Can you produce the survey showing it's on your land?" The lawyer mumbled, ducked, stalled. Nothing. The judge slammed the gavel, ruled for me, every count. Remove the garage, restore my property, pay me $8,000 in rental value, and another $25,000 for legal fees. Over $33,000, not even counting what it would cost them to rip up their precious stonework. Karen's face turned a shade I can only describe as expensive eggplant. Mark just slumped in his seat, white as chalk. They appealed, lost again. Eventually, they had no choice but to call a demolition crew. The sound of that garage coming down, it was music. I put up a fence, posted bright private property signs, used the settlement to finally fix up my porch. Karen and Mark stopped speaking to me, let their new garage sit empty, and not long after, a "for sale" sign went up. Sold at a loss. The new family, 2 little boys and a black lab, moved in, brought me cookies and beer, and we got along like old friends. Sometimes, when I sit on my porch, watching the sun melt over the lake, I think about how close I came to rolling over. It would have been easier, cheaper, quieter. But if you let people trample your boundaries once, they'll do it again. Some things you just have to fight for. So next time someone tries to build on your dreams, ask yourself, would you stand your ground or just give in?